Welcome to this video tutorial where I'll be explaining you about AJAX and all the applicable usages of AJAX. Okay, and let us go through the agenda of what all we will understand from this. So here basically what we are trying to understand is the basic of AJAX interactions. Okay, what AJAX is all about. Okay, how to go about it. Then basically next step is we are going to understand is what is XML HTTP request and how to use it. And next step we will use the XML HTTP request with some examples. We will use AJAX with XML, we will use AJAX with JSON, and finally what we will do is we will actually understand what would be the role of web server in AJAX. Okay, so here before we proceed for actually understanding what AJAX is all about and how to make use of it, the first step what we need to know is exactly HTML, XHTML, CSS is basically cascading style sheet, which we basically do, the look and feel of the application, and the usage of JavaScript or DOM, document object model. Okay, so this knowledge, basic knowledge of these things are required to actually understand what AJAX is all about. So now what is AJAX? AJAX is basically asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Okay, asynchronous JavaScript and XML in the sense AJAX is a combination of JavaScript XML usage, and where basically AJAX is used. AJAX as a technique is basically used where a lot of processing is required, in the sense a user posts the data and the request goes to the server. Okay, and during that process the user cannot do much things. So the best part is there you can use AJAX so that the user has a specific screen on his desktop or a laptop, and basically he is not seeing a blank screen. So AJAX is a technique which is used for creating fast and very dynamic pages so that the user gets a very good look and feel, plus he is able to do something on the screen at that particular time. Okay, also AJAX allows web pages to be updated asynchronously. Now here I mean asynchronously is basically when a user does some activity on the web page. Okay, the request goes to the server and comes back. During that interval the user is not able to do anything. So this AJAX basically helps you to do some activity by posting data through the server, which is happening in the background, but at the same time it allows the user to interact on the page. So it basically allows the user to do something on the page at the same time when the processing is going on at the backend without even reloading the entire page. Okay, so it gives a very good look and feel to the user, so the user does not have to wait for a long time for something to happen. So AJAX plays a very powerful role over here. Now earlier what used to happen is, in case of classical web pages earlier before AJAX, okay, what a user used to do is a user used to click on the page and then he had to sit and relax unless the page has been loaded on the browser. Okay, so during that time the user was not able to do any interaction with the application. Okay, now AJAX as a powerful tool gives the user that experience where he is able to use the application as well as basically whatever activity he does on the website, he is easily able to do both the activities simultaneously. So AJAX basically gives a powerful tool to the developers as well as the super experience to the end users, where they experience a very rich interface, and basically it also helps them to have a interactive kind of a thing with the application. Okay, now some examples, okay, that I can give you of AJAX is Google Maps, okay, or Gmail or Google Suggest or YouTube, any application which you use recently, everything involves the use of AJAX. Okay, now let us understand over here how AJAX works. Okay, basically if you see over here, an event, okay, so a user, okay, is browsing a website and he clicks somewhere or he does some activity on the website, is where basically the AJAX come into the picture. Okay, so what happens is when an event occurs, okay, what basically is done is an XML is created and it is sent through an HTTP request. Now, for those of all who don't know what an HTTP request is, an HTTP request basically contains several pieces of information, including the domain at which it is stored. For example, google.co.in, okay, the name of the page, for example, mypage.html, and basically it contains the names and value of any parameter that has to be sent with the request. Okay, so that is what basically an HTTP request is all about. So over the internet, this request is passed and it basically goes to the web server. Okay, it can be IIS, it can be Apache, Tomcat, no matter which web server you're using. And then this request, HTTP request, is processed at the web server. Then finally it gives you a response. Okay, and this response via the internet is sent back to the web server. Okay, then it comes to the browser back, okay, after the processing is done and the data is received, and everything is done using JavaScript. Okay, so client side activity, so the user does not feel, okay, that the screen is blank or he has to sit idle for a long time. And finally the page content is updated. So this interaction from the time an event is created to the final output which is sent to the browser through the JavaScript, the user gets a very rich interface. He basically feels an interactive kind of a response. Okay, so he basically enjoys the event that occurs till he gets the output on the browser. A very super experience the user has. Okay, now let's go to what are the components of AJAX. Okay, what all an AJAX contains or it is made up of. So if you see, the first and the most important part of AJAX is an XML HTTP request, okay, or an XML HTTP request object. Okay, what it basically does, XML HTTP request is the core or the heart of AJAX component. So XML HTTP request basically enables a page to get data, okay, from get or post in the background, okay, which means that it does not refresh the browser during this process. So the XML HTTP request, or in short it is called as XHR, it eliminates the need to wait on the server to respond to any request that has been sent. Okay, so everything is happening asynchronously. Okay, then basically the most important part, which is JavaScript or DOM, it basically is used to display and interact any information exchange that is happening is basically through the JavaScript on the DOM. Okay, and CSS is basically it's to use to style, or if I can say in plain simple words, for the look and feel of the data representation to be done on the web page. Okay, and finally XML. Okay, always data transfer, data exchange, everything that happens in the form of XML, which is extensible markup language. Okay, so any transfer happens through XML. Okay, so these are the main components which one should understand is a core or the part of AJAX. Okay, XML HTTP request or XHR, JavaScript DOM, CSS for styling, and XML basically to transfer or exchange of data. Now here one needs to understand that AJAX application are browser and platform independent. So one should know that AJAX is not a platform dependent. Okay, it's basically platform independent. Now let me give you a brief introduction of what AJAX is all about. Okay, so AJAX, or as I told you earlier, XHR or the XML HTTP request, it's basically the heart or the core of the AJAX model, and it's a part of XML DOM, or basically the document object model. Okay, XML DOM basically it defines a way of accessing and manipulating XML documents, which is used for transfer or exchange of data, okay, in XML format. So the XML basically defines a way of accessing and manipulating XML documents. Accessibility is possible through a set of intrinsic JavaScript objects that focus on DOM manipulation. Okay, it is required to pass the responses that we receive from the server side when we create an XML HTTP request. Okay, now as mentioned earlier, the XHR is the core of AJAX model, and without which this model would not exist. Okay, so this is the piece of EdgeX puzzle that has created, okay, and it has created a recent buzz because it always has HTTP requests to be made to the server without refreshing the browser.